morning, Buddha. Good morning, good morning, good morning. A little late today. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm a little late today. I'm a little late. Oh, I'm running a lot of late today. Wow, it's 9:19. Nobody told me I was this late. I had ants in my coffee. I was hanging out in the garden. Ants was crawling in my coffee, so it's okay. I think I got most of them out. I think I'm gonna put this stop today. I think I got most of them out. It's okay. I think 80% was like 80% of the world's population, they eat bugs. So that's okay. And the rest of them pretend that they don't. Y'all know lobsters and crabs, those are bugs, right? I know that. I'm gonna let you know. Lobsters and crabs, if you look at them with the exoskeleton underwater, they're just fat and underwater. That's all. They lived in the ocean longer. They're bugs, they're ants. They're just like everybody else, eating grubs. Those are the Aboriginal brothers singing in the background. Anyway, who we got? Mary. We got Brother Mike. Elaine's in the house. Zach, Crystal, Sandra, Jesse, Ivana. All right. Protein ants. Yeah, I know. It's a couple of them in there, Elaine. I think I poured most of them out, but I don't know. I love coffee so much, and I love sitting in the garden so much. That the kids use that word emulate. Meh. I think if we really ask ourselves a question, how many spiders crawl in our ears and how many spiders land on us and how many bugs go in our mouths while we're sleeping. Some people sleep with their mouth open, y'all that like to snore. I think we'd be really scared of that. So I'm okay with it. It's just protein. It is what it is. It's the natural world, people. We live in a natural world. But I took a few minutes getting late this morning trying to get a few about. There's a difference between taking in the natural world and having to see it when I take it in. I had a peach not too long ago, and I bit into the peach, and I know I eat fresh peaches off the tree, and I know they have worms in them, a lot of them. But this particular one, I bit into it, and the worm kind of jumped out of the crack that I bit in, was like, "Hey, Negro, hey!" And I was like, "Oh no!" He started doing the Macarena. Oh no, I can't eat that. Now, if the end of the world comes, I eat all the bugs I can. I will put some hot sauce on them. I'll put them in some basil pesto, and I eat them up. I grab them up. But I don't like dripping my coffee. They change the flavor of your coffee, you know. So anyway, who else we got? We're gonna get going. Hey, Trish. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see, Brother Glenn, Betty, top of the morning in heaven. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I'm late. I was wondering about something. Outside of the fact that I got the water fountain behind me, because when I was growing up, and even going back to Roman days, you had water everywhere. Water was free. I remember being a kid, and we used to laugh at the idea of somebody selling water in a bottle. It was insanity. It was stupid. It's like, that'll never work. You're crazy. You're gonna sell, you're gonna sell water. Stop. You gonna sell water for real? People gonna buy your water in a bottle? That's the only thing that came in water when I was a kid, well, that came in a bottle when I was a kid, is you had the pugs. Remember the pugs? I used to drink the pugs all the time. And we had, milk came in a carton, but we never had water in a bottle. I was looking at the news this morning. I found it highly interesting. I think it's London. London's going to get their act together, and London is going to actually start to make more water fountains. As a kid, we used to have water fountains everywhere. Everywhere you went, it was a park, it was the zoo, it was out on the side, the city, the neighborhood, public areas. There were water fountains pretty much everywhere. It was free. You went up to them and you picked it up and used it. But then again, I guess there were public telephones too. And I think you could dial 911 on them. But London's going back that direction. Every minute, I believe the statistic is every minute 1 million water bottles sell. 1 million plastic water bottles sell every minute in this unsustainable world. I suspect there was a war on water fountains a long time ago, and we didn't know nothing about it. Anywhere you create scarcity, you can create a product. right? So they got rid of all the water fountains. And so now what happens? Everybody buys all their water out of bottles. Another massive unsustainable thing that we do in the West that we want to roll out to the rest of the world, which kind of leads me into a question I was having this morning. I was watching a discussion by a sister who wrote a book that I think many found highly controversial. She used to work for Goldman Sachs. What is her name? And I did not read the book. I did not read the book. I didn't even know who this woman was until I saw the lecture on Al Jazeera, but I found it highly interesting. She used to work for Goldman Sachs, and the book was highly controversial. It was a bestseller. What is her name? What is her name? What is her name? Name. Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan. I posted on my page. It was a discussion called "Is It Time to Rethink Democracy?" I found it interesting. Good discussion. I think you guys should watch it. I don't know if I posted on my page. I think it's on my public page. Went through a lot of details, but a couple of the areas kind of tuned me in. They were talking about poverty, right? So she's a globalist because she works for Goldman Sachs. She used to, but she has a perspective. But she's anti-liberal. She's an anti-liberal globalist, which I found interesting. At the one point in the discussion, they were talking about poverty. You know how we always like to talk about the war on poverty? We're warring on poverty. We got to fix poverty. We got to change poverty. Get rid of poverty. Get rid of it. And I was sitting here wondering, well, what is poverty? Maybe somebody has a good description. I think somebody just gave me a description. I think it just flew right down past the page. Let me pull up my comments here so I don't lose my comments. But what is poverty really? Growing up, I think as a kid, I think my grandparents were poor. At least I know I looked at them like they were poor, but they were pretty daggone happy. They didn't have any need for much. They pretty much had everything they needed. They had food, water, house, a whole bunch of kids. My grandmother had 11 kids on my on my dad's side. 11, 12, I forgot. A whole bunch of uncles and aunts, a whole bunch of them. I posted something I was talking about in my modest travels and the people who I've talked to. You know, some of the happiest people I know are also some of the poorest people I know. So I'm just wondering, why is that? Because there is this thing when we talk about globalism, we talk about how there's this agenda, this war on poverty. We got to get rid of poverty. We need to give more people access. We need to get more people to participate in the global economy. I like to question everything. I know me. I don't like to. Well, mostly it's me. It's myself. It's concepts that I bite into, because I'm always thinking somebody's kind of trying to play me, because somebody always is trying to play us. It's the colonies. We live in a colonial society, colonial world, colonial lifestyle where people hate colonization, but they love the lifestyle it provided. But I look at this globalism and this rolling out access and bringing people into our debt-based monetary system. That's what I'm kind of thinking that it is. Like, I'm thinking, if somebody is happy in another country, third world, whatever it may be, and they're happy, the few times I've been blessed enough to go to a tropical third world, where we would consider the people to be very poor. They didn't have a lot of money in the bank, but they seem to have a lot of spirituality in the box, in the cavity, in the body. They seem to be very happy people for the most part. Maybe happy is not the right word, maybe content. Now, the elders were the ones that were more content. I think the kids were probably fascinated with my Western gadgets and shiny things, and perhaps the lifestyle. They want the cell phones, they want the iPods, they want the iPads, the everything. They want all of that because they see it on TV, I imagine. I imagine some of their friends, and they see the wealthy in their areas who have it. So the kids want it. But the parents, like, I feel like they almost looked at me with, like, almost pity. I can't really bite, and no one really said anything necessarily. Well, that's not true. Some people have said something. But why are we fighting to take people out of things if they're happy? Like, I get if you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have the necessities. But are we defining poverty as people who don't have access to life, or do we find poverty as people who don't live like us? I got this feeling like when I look at this globalization thing, I see too many plantation-ish things. You know, one good thing in the discussion, they were talking about growth, right? Growth. Everything is growth. We got to have growth, growth, growth. You know, we talk about the world's modern monetary systems require growth. If it's not growing, it's going to collapse because it's a pyramid. It's got to keep growing. You got to get to GDP, go, 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 go. And if it ever slows down, it'll collapse or you'll get left behind. And is that not just a debt colony, a debt colonization mission to take people who don't live like we do because they live in huts or they don't have cell phones and flat screen TVs and all of our slave made technology, our cars, and we say, oh, they're poor, we got to help them. We have to bring debt to their world. We need to bring we need to bring some debt to their lives because we're happy and they should be happy like us. But I look at a lot of the people in these tropical third worlds and I don't know that a lot of them are unhappy. Like I know I see a lot of unhappy people on television. They look unhappy. They got flies on their belly and stuff. And sometimes you can see that they're starving. But sometimes I wonder, are the majority of people who we would call impoverished around the world, are they unhappy? Or are we told or shown that they're unhappy? And so we'll be okay with an invasion of their world, either whether from an economic perspective or a physical invasion, and bring them over into our monetary system. Because when we bring them over, we bring in more debt labor slaves, more nations that are beholden to our banking system, that we can give them massive loans in the billions and billions of dollars where they can't possibly pay it back because we're getting loans from our Federal Reserve and our banks in England that we can't possibly pay back. The more people we bring under our multi-level marketing scheme, I think that's the word I'm looking for. The more people we bring under our Amway-ish multi-level marketing scheme, the more people that we make beholden to the same misery that keeps us working and working and working because we got to produce more and more and more. And now dad just can't work. Mom's got to work. And now mom just doesn't work. Dad has to get a second job. And now dad's second job doesn't do so. Mom's got to start a business with her second job. And now that's not happening. So the kids are coming home. And now the kids got to work too. And it just seems that the whole goal of this society is to build up this massive debt-based forced labor system by shoving people underneath us who increasingly do worse and worse. And that allows us to do better and better. Like we believe in this pyramid and this model of growth and globalization and bringing in impoverished, poor people who tend to be really happy into our system. And I think it's a plantation push. I think that's all it is. I think it's misery loves company. And the more people we bring into misery, the happier we are. I think our lifestyles are based in looking at people who might be happier than we are. Might be a little tribal, might be a little, they don't have what we have. But we allow television to convince us that we're bringing them democracy and freedom. And that was the question of the discussion, which it was a little comical. I think y'all should watch it. But, is it time that we rethink democracy? And that's not really my question. I don't know that I love or hate democracy. I think that democracy is what it is. I think my interest is, are we giving people the freedom that they deserve? Are we giving people the freedom that they want? I don't have any interest in bringing anybody into the forced labor system that I live under. I don't think it's a good idea. And the drug sales will tell you that alone, right? The number one selling drug in the West is antidepressants. And if that doesn't tell you what you need to know when America comes to your country or the West comes to your country and they want to roll out some new systems, and those people, you're happy people. A lot of these tropical countries, they have food, they have water, they have a house. They don't have a lot of money in the bank. But who says you got to have money in the bank? Who says not having money in the bank is a bad thing? Now, I know there's a bad thing in the West, because it means you die. It means you go to prison. You can't pay the lords and the kings and you will end up in prison. There's no question about that. But I'm questioning it. I'm questioning the idea that we get to call people impoverished because they don't live like us. That we get to dictate how they live their lives and their society and their governments because we see a few flashy images on television. And I think we forget that the world was largely sustainable before we got here. Way before we got here, before we met the wild man. I'll show y'all something. Long before we met the wild man. Y'all know who the wild man is? Let me see the wild man. Long before we, not them, we colonizers, before we got here, and we met the wild man. It's the wild man right here. Y'all ever see the wild man? This is the wild man. The wild man, he actually was pretty sustainable.
Off on the trek into the heart of the Never Never, the expedition is nearing the country inhabited by the real bad men of Australia, wild blacks who have never seen a white, prehistoric beings sprung from a race said to be 500,000 years old, men who have not progressed 1 degree since the dawn of creation. The tribe posts a sentry to warn them of the approach of strangers. Something is underway. These ebony gods of the Australian hinterland seem intent upon keeping secret some century-locked custom. The Nagalia and Pintibi tribes are meeting on the sacred ceremonial ground of the former. The ceremony of the Panna is unfolding in all its barbaric glamour. It is one of the rarest of all ceremonials and is held to commemorate the evil customs of the Nana Nana Wati, devil people of gruesome appearance who, according to the folklore of these people, lived on the flesh of corpses, a rare type of the Pintibi caste, far removed from the average conception of Aboriginal physiognomy.
Wild man, wild people. I suspect, I know, I heard that you heard a few things in there that probably get some triggers. The devil people. What do you call it? He said something that was kind of sexy though. He said something like the ebony god of the outback or something like that. I'm like, whoa, that sounds kind of sexy. He got a whole bunch of, but he put in a whole lot of paganism, evilism, and the devil people, you know, the pagans. Because I think that's how we look at people in the third world a lot in the West. We look at them like they're pagans. I know we look back at this video and like, that video's racist. But is that not how we look at the third world as we roll them onto our debt-based systems? They have water. They have water fountains. They have food. They have a life. Their kids are happy. They're not on antidepressants. They don't have to go to work in the morning. They wake up and figure out what they want to go and they go do it. But we look at them like there's something wrong with them. Because isn't that what they always do to us? Because I know we can look back and we can say, oh, they were horrible back then. Because they went and they colonized these people and they killed them and they brought them into their lifestyle. Is that not what we're doing? Don't we do the same thing? Now we look at it differently. We say different things, but are we not looking at people in the third world in not only Africa, but the Middle East, South America, different parts of the world, and we look at them like something's wrong with them? Now we don't use religion like we used to, right? We don't use it. They're not pagans and we need to free them. But now we look at them from a monetary perspective. We look at them from a, you know what? You guys don't have money in the bank. We need to come bring you some democracy and freedom. We need to blow your country up and bring you into our system. And if their government doesn't want to go along, we invade them. I don't think anything's changed. This is what I don't think anything's changed. I think we are the same colonizers we've always been. And it's based in getting rid of somebody's old customs and happy ways they used to live and bringing them into our misery. I'm gonna look at the comments. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. I was thinking, this taking me down a few paths. There was a whole bunch of actually some good news today I'd love to talk about too, but I don't think that we define poverty the same way. I think we let television tell us what poverty is. And I think because of that, it walks us into this, you know how we keep going back to Eddie Bernays, it walks us into this whole art of propaganda where they build up your foundation of that country is bad because that country is not like us and we need to help those people. And so the next time we hear that country mentioned in terms of bringing them freedom and democracy and helping them, we go along with this globalist strategy of destroying indigenous tribes all over the world, and not even indigenous tribes, but just other governments who do things different than how we do. They have a different banking system than we do. It doesn't funnel up to the Bank of England like ours does. And so they walk us into our own little in a way, if you will, racist belief systems, nationalist belief systems, Western-ish belief systems that we need to free people who aren't enslaved. But we are enslaved. That's what I'm thinking. Let me see. It's a crazy idea to sell water back in the day. Yeah, it was. But it's the new norm now, Sandra. And this is to me, it's kind of related, Sandra, because if you can take away something that's abundant, you can make a business, right? And so they took away the abundance of water fountains, and now they're selling us water. And now people actually die in America because they don't have water. Are you like, I don't know, is it just me, or does it feel like we were walked into this? And we're constantly walked into this, whether it's a third world and destroying their history and how they grow food, how they live sustainably, how they went on walkabout. They didn't need us. But now the next generation needs us. And how does that happen? Because the kids want the shiny things, right? We travel to these countries, they see the shiny things, they turn on the television, they see the shiny things. And that's another way that they're walking the next generations of those nations that are sustainable out of the way they used to live into a forced labor system that we have. That's what I'm thinking. And so I'm happy to look at the who is it? The UK that's doing that. They're planning on rolling out public drinking fountains again, public drinking stations. Because so the funny thing though is you'll break the bottled water industry. If you do that, here, look at this. I want you to see this. You'll break the industry, but you'll save the people. Oh, I don't want that. I don't know nothing about no dreamers, and I don't want to see that.
London may have been the city that pioneered the public drinking fountain, but its popularity has dried up since this one was built in 1859. Only a handful of water fountains exist in the capital today as more people reach for bottled water to quench their thirst. Now, with the growing threat of plastic to the environment, London wants to bring a new generation of water fountain to the British public. Earlier this year, Mayor Sadiq Khan announced a pilot scheme of 20 water stations to be built. It's part of a nearly $1 million project to reduce plastic waste in London over the next 3 years. They're being installed in shopping districts and commuter hubs, and if they prove successful, the project may expand.
The scope for expanding the extent of availability of water for Londoners is huge. We need to make sure that people have access to water and that they're not having to pay for it. But the other benefit that would come would actually be in reducing congestion. If you move water in pipes, then rather than in plastic bottles that have to be transported by lorry, you reduce the number of lorries on the road, you reduce the road danger, and you make your city streets into healthier and better places to be.
Every minute, 1 million plastic drinking bottles are bought around the world. In Britain, more than 7.5 billion single-use water bottles are used every year. London is the biggest consumer and the worst for recycling. The average adult buys 175 plastic water bottles a year. Less than half are recycled. Many of them end up here in Britain's waterways. This small team of volunteers is working with the charity Thames 21. They're part of thousands of people who help clean and monitor the rubbish that flows through the river each year.
I'm gonna stop there. So, and this gets down to that discussion about Plastic Island, right? Plastic Island. That's the eddy of plastic in every single ocean. Every ocean has an eddy area. Remember that eddy area? What is it? A foot beneath the surface of the water. You have just all of this plastic trash just floating, just a foot underneath the water. And I believe it's the Pacific Ocean. It's about the size of Texas right now. So we got to stop using plastic. I think we're always played. I think we're always played into these little scarcity business models where they take something from us and they roll out something else. We think it's better. It seemed ridiculous when it first came out. But now we've created this multi-billion-dollar industry for plastic, for chemical companies, for water bottling companies, where we're effectively pumping water out of impoverished nations. Oh, third world, Nestle. This it all gets down to it. So we empower the companies we don't think should exist, rolling out unsustainable scarcity models to get us to buy their product because we never actually probably read the laws or we never really see it coming. Like we were going in the right direction with public fountains, right? Water, when I was growing, water was free. Everybody had water. There was no question about buying water. You always had water. But magically now, it's normalized. Everyone, you have to buy water. And if you don't have, and now people die from the lack of having. This is why I think we have to always stay focused on the final picture. Where is humanity going, right? We want humanity in a place of abundance. Then we should be rolling out more things to people, not taking more things from people, and certainly not forcing them into our monetary setup. Jamie says she stopped years ago, which is good. I think, I mean, I don't buy bottled water like the little bottles anymore, Jamie. I buy the gallon. But I think that I probably need to step it up. Maybe we need to push more for water filtration. Because the tap, obviously, all the chlorine they're putting in is a horrible thing. Maybe we need to go back to public drinking holes and fountains like natural springs. There actually is a website, and I forgot the name of it. There's a website that's out there you can go to and find out where your natural local springs are. And so in my own life, maybe I need to prioritize that. But it seems that we're always played and we buy into it and we end up in these places. We're the problem by buying it. We need to boycott it. Yes, Jamie, I agree. I mean, I agree. This is something we do need to add to the boycott list. There's no question that we need to stop buying the little plastic bottled water things. You know, if you buy those, shift up to the bigger ones. You know, get yourself the little aluminum cans and refill them. You know, maybe if you are into the whole politician thing and legislation, you need to push more for rolling out the refill fountain stations. Not really to drink the ones, you know, when we were kids, the ones you drink from. And you always had that kid. Why was a kid in front of me? I know the y'all. Let me see if is it on this picture? I can't show it to you. No, it's not on that one. Let me see if I can find a quick picture because the young folks, they don't know what I'm talking about. So the little drinking fountains, you go to PE, you go to gym, and after you're done, you go to the water fountain, you have a drink, and I don't know why. This is how we vaccinated too. I won't go there. I'm not gonna touch back. There's some vaccination stuff happening in where is that? Brazil, but I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna leave that alone. Here you go, right here. This is what they used to look like. Y'all remember these? And for some reason, the kid that was always in front of me, he was the one who had to put his mouth around the whole damn thing. Like, you know, we all had. There was like a proximity thing. You'd all go. You stand in line. You get your water, and and you press the button and you would kind of hold your mouth back from it, the lever. It wasn't a button, it was a lever. And oh no, it was a turn. It was a turn one. This is the one of the turn ones. You turn it and you hold your mouth back and the water falls in your mouth. And you had a distance thing you were supposed to maintain. And then you had the kid who didn't get that and he would put his mouth around the actual thing where the water comes out. And then he's like, oh Lord, now I gotta get his germs, I'm gonna die. But we naturally vaccinated. It was our vaccination station. It's how we spread measles, mumps, rubella, and a lot of diseases and colds and viruses, you know. But we had strong immune systems, but we stopped doing that. All right, let me. I don't know why that came to my mind, but it was always that kid. He was always in front of me in line. Yeah, we need to boycott things, Stephanie. Yeah, we do. It was like, who was it? I think it was Brother Jay who said it the other day. He was talking about there's a difference between demonstration and protesting and how we've got demonstration down. I see we get out in the street, boy, people demonstrate like nobody else, especially in America, but we out there demonstrating. Europe might be a little different. We can demonstrate. Get out there, just demonstrate. We demonstrate for the day, and then the message goes away. But the protest is where you stick through and you determine what are you going to do to actually change the system, the thing that you're actually demonstrating. And so we definitely need to boycott more. We need to step away from things like this. The other thing I wanted to go into, it wasn't just water. I saw something else, and everybody was talking about it yesterday. I didn't know anything about it. This was the whole Alex Jones thing. Rest in peace, brother. So I said, Alex Jones died? No, he didn't die. He didn't die. They took him off the air. They took him off the air. So let me. I think I got a thing. So Alex Jones, y'all remember Alex Jones? Some of y'all hate him. I don't hate him. I used to watch the guy. The guy was funny. I'm a shock jock person. I grew up on Howard Stern and a lot of the funny people you just love to hate, and they were conspiracy theorists. All right, here we go. Hold on.
He has a national
plan, people. These are demons.
He has a national radio show, more than 2 million YouTube subscribers, and a website called InfoWars that's made him a wealthy man. But Alex Jones is facing an increasing number of platforms who will no longer publish his content. In the last few days, he's been removed from Facebook, iTunes, and now also YouTube, where his video rants rack up millions of hits.
First demonize InfoWars, lie about us, build a straw man, then sue us to add credibility to that, then have a few fake strikes on YouTube and Facebook with nebulous terms like bullying children and Islamophobia.
Jones is a controversial figure. He claims the Sandy Hook school massacre was staged by crisis actors as a way to change gun laws in the US. One of the families is now suing him for libel. The first hearings in the case have been held near his Texas base. He believes the 9/11 attacks were organized and carried out by the US government, and the government kills people by controlling the weather.
Wait. Okay, so I'll stop here for a minute. So first of all, let me say this. I like Alex. I don't care what you like. I like Alex. I've always liked Alex. Do I believe Alex? Hell no, not all the time. I think the guy, he was always stuck between, he was a shock jock that was funny, conspiracy theorist, and he probably was ahead of a lot of us, knowing that our government was always up to something nefarious. And he just couldn't seem to get out of shock jock mode, right? Like he would always add a little extra sugar on it. And, you know, but remember, like we talked about yesterday, the fake news kid. Y'all remember the fake news kid, the kid that was always lying about something? Alex kind of was him. Alex lies about a lot, but he doesn't lie about everything. He actually nailed a lot. He got a lot of things right way before we knew what was going on. You know, did the U.S. government do 9/11? I don't know. I know they were a part of it. I knew that they knew something about it and they didn't do anything about it. I know that. We know the Saudi government was a big part of it. We know that our presidents have covered it up. We know that. But can we say the United States did it? We can't say that, but we can say they knew and they allowed it, you know, and who was they? You know, might be a few people in a few positions here and there. Sandy Hook, I don't know nothing about. I leave it alone. I think Sandy Hook will answer itself. That's why I say you don't have to jump into these conspiracies, because if a family's suing him and their kid actually, that resolves that. But I don't think that you get to determine free speech. This is my problem with social media, is that, I mean, it's their platforms. I mean, they can do what they business-wise want to do legally. But the problem is that when you take away people's voices, you reduce our ability to spot a lie. You reduce our ability to get other ideas and opinions, you know. So is it sensitive and bullying and social media thuggism and all of that bullying? I don't believe in that. I don't care nothing about that. I know that when kids are bullied, it makes them stronger. Like I was talking about the other day, when we were bullied as kids, it taught us great lessons, right? It taught us how to pull together. It taught us how to spot the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It taught you how to run real fast. It taught you a whole lot of things. And as far as, and I'm not a proponent of physical bullying. Now, I'm not saying that. I don't believe in violence at all. I'm just saying that it's how the world works. There are people who tell the truth and there are people who lie. There are people who they tell some of the truth and then they add a little sugar on the other side. If we don't build up people to spot that and we start erasing that, we got a big problem. But outside of that, whether you like Alex or not, the idea that social media is becoming truth ministries, that's more dangerous than anything Alex Jones has ever said anywhere ever in his life. You know, but what is this really about? This is still just the whole hate Trump thing. That's all it is. It's hate. It's Trump phobia. And that's why I talk down Trump phobia every time I see it, because he's an Alex Jones viewer, or used to be, and Alex Jones is his boy. Then it means that if you hate Trump, you love the system, but you hate Trump. You love slavery, but you hate Trump. You love forced labor, but you hate Trump. You love poverty, but you hate Trump. You love, you know, you love putting people in prison, and you love the crime bill, but you hate Trump. You know, focusing on on a side effect of our system, not the actual system, it means that you go after his people. And so they went after Alex Jones. And so behind the scenes, I guarantee you there was this big push to come after him because he likes Trump, right? He voted for Trump. He likes Trump. He supported Trump. So he must be racist. I can tell you this. Alex is not racist. Again, Trump is not racist. No more than the average American, period. No more, not a drop more, not an ounce more. And it's not racism, it's just prejudice. People, everybody's prejudiced. So that's what that's about. And so now we got this big push for censoring each other, the poor censoring the poor. And guess who takes home the kitty? Of course, the wealthy, the corporations. And that's why anytime you ally against other poor people, you're just fulfilling the wishes of the banks. That's all you're doing. You're not on anybody else's side but the banks and the big corporations, those in the future who will enslave your children. That's who you're supporting. We've had many conspiracies proven to be true. Yes, Sarah, we have many, which is why I believe in conspiracy theories. I'm good on that. I don't have an issue with conspiracy theories. I think when governments and banks and big business conspire against you, you should have a lot of people looking for the lies. You have a lot of people looking for the conspiracies. And guess what? They get some wrong, they get some right. As they're proven wrong, you push them out. But the ones that they can't prove aren't wrong, we kind of keep in the kitty. I think that we need people like that. So I don't like that. I like Alex Jones. I don't always believe him, obviously. I don't always trust what he says, but he got a lot of things right. And so now we're in this space where you guys, because you hate Trump, you're still going after anything affiliated with Trump. And you don't see what you're doing. You have no idea the damage that you're causing to the future, your kids and my kids, by shutting down free speech and forcing social media platforms to take these people down. It's stupid. It's a bad idea. Please stop. Please stop. Can y'all say please stop? Please stop. Can y'all please stop? Please stop working for the banks. Please, please, pretty please. Can y'all stop? Can y'all stop working for Raytheon and Lockheed Martin? Can you please, Goldman Sachs? Please, I know you don't like Trump, but can you, I don't know, can you just be quiet for a little bit? Can you do that? Can you sit in your spot? You know, I teach you to put you in timeout. Can y'all be just kind of go in timeout for a little bit? The adults got to solve some problems in the world. We don't need you making it worse. We don't. Can y'all sit down somewhere? Give them a little hat, little pug or something. Do they still make pugs? The pug juices were good, y'all. Y'all know those pug. They were probably carcinogen. They're probably killing everybody, but the pug juices were good. Let me see. Listen to me on one device and Debbie in another. I know, Crystal, I got trapped the other day. I was listening to, I think I had Claudia in one ear, Debbie in the other, and somebody else launched it. And I'm like, oh Lord, live streamers everywhere. It needs to be a live streamer schedule. Alex Jones has become an underdog and the populace loves the underdog. He has, and that's another problem, Mary, is that when people, they make an enemy, somebody who probably isn't an enemy, and they go after him, then it becomes this distraction, right? And so now people are going after this side effect. But the issue is Alex Jones's enemies are actually all poor people's enemies. And I don't think people connect those dots. They just don't like what he says, but they're not looking at his approach. He's anti-establishment. If he's anti-establishment, he's anti-debt colony, he's anti-globalism, he's anti all these things that are the big problems that bring about scarcity and violence and conflict and rape and war. If he's anti all of those damn things, stop listening to what he's saying and just think about the fact that he is an ally in fixing the establishment. That's what we need to focus on this system. No one agrees 100%, be tolerant. Exactly, Laura, you gotta be tolerant. No, but don't, stop looking for people that agree with you. Like I forgot what I wrote the other day. I was saying something about, you know, if all your friends list, if you look at your friends list and all your friends look like you, they're your religion, they agree with your post a lot, and you don't have anyone offering additions to your comments or what you have to say, you're a pod person. You potentially are a pod person. You're not helping with the world. You're not helping where the world needs to go. Like, we have to keep moving forward, not backwards. It's like the water fountains. Water was free. The next step should have been food should have been free. We should have had vending machines offering free food where people could get some toast and some cakes and some pies or something, you know, like that was a direction to go. The direction wasn't to get rid of the water fountains and then sell water. We want to go forward, not backward. And to go forward, you need more diversity. You need more exposure to different people who aren't like you, who don't think like you. That's the right direction. You know, it's like we were talking about Israel yesterday, you know, in terms of them becoming more of an apartheid state, which they are. You know, you don't want to go that direction. Their excuse was, well, all the countries around us, they got Muslim stars on the flag and they're Muslim states. I know, but we know that's the wrong direction, dummy. We know that. You don't go and try to mimic and go back the wrong way. You want to keep going forward. Like, you know what? I know they are around me, but you know, if Israel came out and they were like, you know what? We want to be diverse. We want to bring everybody in. We want everybody to have a voice. We want to be diverse and blah, 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 blah. A lot of the problem people have would go away. No, Sarah, don't be laughing. Pies. I said free. I said free vending machine pies. We can do that, girl. You didn't know that? Listen, we can have hemp pie. We have 3D printers for hemp now. Do you guys know that? We can 3D print sandwiches. Yes, it was an M in there. It was 2 M's. Sandwiches. That's Brotman from the fifth floor. From Martin. We can have vending machine for sandwiches. That's the right way to go. And it doesn't cost anybody anything. This is all automation and robotics and software. And so we could have did this, and that's the direction to go. But we can't go that direction because all the poor people are still fighting the poor people. Cognitive dissonance is one reason people don't want to hear anything that makes them squirm. Exactly, Deborah, because the media walks us into that, right? The media walks us into this belief that we're doing the right thing. Taking down Alex Jones is going to make something better, while Alex Jones is fighting the establishment. Now, he might be lining it up. He might be, what do y'all call him? Controlled opposition. He might be. I don't care nothing about that. As long as that man is coming forward and saying today doesn't work, that's all I care about. His mind is in the right space, especially if the people taking him down are saying today works, right? It's like how does this make any sense? You know, it makes no sense to me. Like, you want to free the people of the world, but you're fighting the people who are trying to free the world. It's crazy to me. The Alex Jones ordeal is part of a plan. I don't trust any of it. No, I don't trust Jamie. I don't trust any of it. I don't trust anybody. But I just like free speech. I like to hear what people have to say. Because if you get to hear what people have to say, you can address what they have to say. If you silence them, then you can't. And now what they've done, they pushed him into crazy man obscurity. And so now he's an obscure fixture, you know, if anything, maybe even a martyr. But the other side of it is the whole violence thing, right? You know, the whole purpose of free speech is to prevent violence. Like, that's the whole purpose of letting people speak. It's like, try to find a good example. When somebody takes away your voice, there's only one way to speak. Okay, here 9/11 will be the example. Here's an example. So why did 9/11 happen in my view? In my view, 9/11 happens because we silenced the Middle East. We silenced people who wanted America, wanted Western influence of the banks out of their countries. They wanted the sellout governments that were storing all the oil money, keeping the people in immense poverty, acting as dragoons and tyrants. They wanted that out. They understood that the banking systems that we roll out, this globalization, not only is what was taking their wealth, it was destroying their country, it was modifying their culture, but it was doing it by silencing them. So we couldn't hear, call them Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever you want to call them. To me, they're not terrorists. They're just poor people who wanted us out. And they couldn't hear us. Their voice was taken. Western media didn't show anything about them. They were being shot and killed. And then they spoke. And that speaking was 9/11. And so 3,000 Americans died. And since then, 5 million people have died in wars because we took away free speech from people who lived in the Middle East, who just wanted their own resources on their own land and wanted us out. Instead of just leaving, we caused all of that. Same thing. It's the same thing when you silence here. When you take away people's ability to talk and say, you know what, I don't like you. Why? Because you got this car. Okay, I can choose to get rid of the car. I can choose to, well, what are you really saying? You don't like me because I have all of this stuff and you don't? Okay, well, why don't you? What can I do to help you? Do we need to roll out some economy? Do we need to grow business to your neighborhoods? Why are you in such poverty? Oh, you're in such poverty because of war on drugs, and your granddaddy used to grow hemp, and now you can't grow hemp, but you got the hemp farm, so you can't afford it. And so the government took your land because you couldn't grow hemp. Oh, so I get it now. Okay, so this is why you're mad at me. I get it. I'm not the problem. The government's the problem. So let's get together. Let's legalize hemp. You can go back to hemp farming like your granddaddy, great granddaddy, your great 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 granddaddy, make money. And that way you don't have to hate me. Now you can go buy your car, do whatever you want. When you hear people, when they can talk to you, it prevents violence. But when he's watching the government take his land, it's just an example. It's an example of scarcity and poverty and how laws actually hurt people, how they've outlawed survival. Now the man's only recourse is now he loses his Alex Jones, who was speaking for him. Now he's upset. Now he's upset. Now he knows I can't hear Alex and other people can't hear Alex. I don't listen to Alex. I stopped listening to him a long time ago, but I don't mind Alex, you know? And so the next thing is to become a little more violent, right? And so now he takes up his guns and now maybe they have to do an act to be heard. This is the wrong way. Yes, Orwellian 1984. That's what we're walking into, is you have two sides that are taking turns giving all massive power to the government and these billionaires. Make Orwell fiction again. Oh, Brother Gil, that's not going to happen. Not yet. Not yet, Gil. Right now, they don't even know what you're talking about. They don't know who Orwell is. They don't know what 1984 is. All they know is the world's getting better and better and better. And that was one thing, that was another topic they were discussing on that little talk they were having, that discussion I posted, is they said, well, everything's getting better. World poverty is down, you know, let more people have excess and they're participating in the economies. And this is where I stopped and I questioned it. I was like, wait a minute, what are you really up to? You know, because you keep promoting these statistics that things are getting better. But I don't think they are. I think you're just rolling more people onto your debt-based system, and that's making things better for banks. You know, you don't have to look at the wild man. You don't have to look at the pagans. You know, it's pushing your lifestyle up higher and higher and higher, but things aren't actually getting better. You're just rolling people onto your system. So I don't actually think things are getting any better. I think that mankind is being enslaved more, and I don't consider that better. I don't consider that better. I don't consider more slaves on our banking plantation picking cotton from their cubicles. I don't think that that's better. To me, that's better for the betters. That's not better for me. It's not better for my kids, and it's not better for your kids. But we can't seem to come together on that. So yeah, I don't think 1984, I don't think that's going to slow down at all. Although these events against him does prove who controls the media. It does, Jamie. It's another good example. But the real problems are if we can't get those people. Yes, I'm going to say those people. I can get in trouble. I don't care. If we can't get those people to start to agree to let go of this hate identity stuff, right? They want to prove that they can be more immature, more ignorant than the people who hated Obama. If we can't get those extreme people to pull back and stop supporting projects like this, nothing's going to get better anytime soon. It isn't better, just looks better on paper. Yes, Kelly, that's it. It's not better. It just looks better on paper. Right, exactly. GDPs are up, growth is up. And that was actually something real smart that she said in that discussion. She said that growth hasn't slowed down, that growth is going through the roof, that things are growing. We suck at distribution. You know, is that, you know, these corporations are getting bigger. They're making more and more money. They're all still unprofitable because of the negative externalities. But the fact is that they're making more money. They're growing. The world is growing. The billionaires are getting billions and billions and billions. And we've already got our few first trillionaires. I believe they just don't want to admit that they're trillionaires yet. But people are getting poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. But on paper, oh man, it looks good. You look at that GDP. That's when I look at GDP and I look at all this global trade, and I realize that has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. I want a trade war. I want a trade war between every nation, a massively economic, just debilitating trade war. Why? Because the billionaires don't. That's why I want it. The billionaires don't. So I know it has something to do with my freedom. I know it has something to do with small business. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. I was gonna look at something else here. Look at this. We're going to go over to Chicago. This was kind of crazy. I didn't know this happened.
It was one of the bloodiest weekends of the year in America's most violent major city. Police say more than 70 people were shot and 12 were killed from Friday to Monday. 40 of them shot in a 7-hour stretch after midnight on Saturday. Police blame gangs targeting rivals at outdoor events such as funerals and block parties.
It's the same people who are pulling the triggers in some of these communities. This isn't a widespread issue among citizens of this city. This is a small subset of individuals who think they can play by their own rules because they continue to get a slap on the wrist when we arrest them.
I'm gonna stop there. I'm not gonna show the rest of it because I hate stuff like that. I hate people like that. Let me go back. I don't know who this is. Who is this? This bastard right here. I hate fake news and I hate liars and I hate police state. So here's the reality. The reality is people do violence and conflict. We know because the neuroscientists and behavioral scientists showed us. Scarcity. That's why conflict exists. That's why you have gangs. You have gangs because they can make a lot of money with the war on drugs. So the idea that, oh, well, these kids are bad and we need to slap them harder on the wrist makes you a freaking moron. I don't know who you are. I don't like you. I hate you. No, I don't. I love him, but he's stupid. He's dumb. This is why I'm saying let the professionals talk. Don't let the police state dragoons talk. That's not your place. You don't know why this occurs. You're a moron. I know, I'm getting upset. I hate stuff like that. Kids do crime because of scarcity. That's already been proven multiple times over and over and over and over. But the people who get on the microphones are never say what the actual problem is. The professionals do, but the professionals never get a microphone. The only people who get microphone are people like him who are going to get paid to make it worse. And so what is he going to get? He's going to get stringent laws. He's going to take more freedom. He's going to take more rights, and he's going to roll out more problems in Chicago instead of actually fixing the problem. People need some damn water fountains. People need some damn pie vending machines, and people need houses. But the problem is that doesn't work in this slave debt-based society. It doesn't work in post-colonized world. It doesn't. And this is why I'm saying, let the whole damn thing collapse. This is why I get pissed off when people say dumb stuff like that. The whole thing needs to come down. I'm okay with it. The whole thing needs to come down. This whole system doesn't work. Colonization broke the human race and it needs to go away. Money broke it. And so everybody got their own little kingdoms and they make money off of these kids getting murdered and killed. And they say dumb things like this on television because he has a mortgage to pay. He wants more laws and it just promotes his little kingdom. Go to a nice place. I'm sorry, I get a little, I call a little feeling, I call a little emotion for him. I hate stuff like that. I hate it when you have dumb adults who say dumb things that get children killed and get them hurt. The only reason that these things happen, the only reason that Chicago is violent is because post-colonization doesn't work for everybody. That's what it comes down to. And the worse things get, the worse the violence is going to get. That's the problem. And this is why when people tell me, well, this is the best that we got. No, it isn't. This is the worst we got. This is the worst. To me, I think this is the worst the human race has probably ever been. Ever. It's just covered up well. We have antidepressants. We have drug use. We have heroin. We have all these things that we can hide and mask it in. And no, I'm not anti-police. I don't want anyone to think I'm not anti-police. That is not me. The police are, this dummy is a part of the system like everybody else, right? Me coming against him would be a problem too. He is a side effect. The problem is the system. They made survival illegal. And so kids pick up guns because they want to survive. That's it. That's it. The same reason the angry farmer who can't farm the hemp, these kids don't have a place to go. They can't have fun. They don't have food. They don't have water. You have violence in people who join gangs because you can make money doing that. You can live better. You see other people living better. Nice lifestyles, driving BMWs because they work for Goldman Sachs, they work for Lockheed Martin, they work for these big corporations, they sit in these offices, and so the kids want it too. And this whole thing perpetuates and feeds itself because the business class doesn't give a damn. They have a lifestyle that requires slavery. They have a lifestyle that requires 70 kids get shot in the street in Chicago on the weekend. They have lifestyles, and because they don't actually have to get any blood on their hands, they don't see the blood. The blood is there. It's in your bank account. It's just overflowing. So I don't know. I got a little upset on that one. I'm gonna step back a little bit. I just bastard. I don't know who he is. I hate Chicago. No, I don't. I love Chicago. I do. All right, we're gonna do one more, and I'm gonna get out of here. So that was a good one. Let me see. What else did I see? There were a couple interesting things this morning. Yeah, Brazil and the measles and mumps vaccination. I'm just not gonna go there this morning. Oh, here's a good one. Oh, this is good. This is gonna be a good one. I like positive things. We're gonna end on a positive note today. Crazy colonized world. Yeah. Colonized people and now the colonizers.
Among those detained in Saudi Arabia is the sister of this man. 6 years ago, blogger Raif Badawi was sentenced to 1,000 lashes to be administered over 20 weeks for criticising Saudi Arabian clerics. Now his sister Summer is among a number of women's rights activists who've been imprisoned, sparking...
I see that? See Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton, they're for women's rights. They're for women's rights. All right, worldwide.
Protest from the Canadian government, and which in turn was met with sharp and immediate Saudi response via state-controlled television.
The kingdom views the Canadian position as an affront to the kingdom that requires a sharp response to prevent any party from attempting to meddle with the Saudi sovereignty.
The Canadian Foreign Minister makes clear there will be no backing down.
Get it, Canada.
Canada's commitment to putting human rights at the center of our foreign policy has drawn some attention in recent days.
Hold on, wait a minute, time out. Wait a minute, if it's humans in Canada and Canada makes a position to put human rights at the forefront of their foreign policy, does that make sense? Like if they're humans and they put human rights at the front of their foreign, does that make sense? I love Canada. I don't know anything about Canada, but I love Canada in this. This is. Why are you watching this?
I'm referring, of course, to the expulsion of Canada's ambassador to Saudi Arabia. And let me be very clear with everyone here and with the Canadians who may be watching and listening. Canada will always stand up for human rights in Canada and around the world, and women's rights are human rights.
This new diplomatic meltdown comes on the heat.
Women's rights are human rights. Where's America? Hello, crickets. Where's UK? Crickets. Where's France? Crickets. Why? Because the military-industrial complexes run their nations. The banks runs their nations. Women are not a thing. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about human rights. Canada actually does. I'm gonna watch the rest. This is an example of what your nation should be doing if your nation didn't already sell you and the rest of the human race out.
Fields of calls for the Canadian government to suspend arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Opposition parties and human rights groups insist Canadian military vehicles are being used to crush political dissent in the east of the kingdom. The stakes are high. Saudi is the largest importer of Canadian military hardware after the United States. Saudi Air has now stopped all flights to Canada, and a planned visit by Saudi students has been cancelled. The message is clear. Keep out of what Saudi says is its internal business, or else. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
Keep out of what Saudi says it's an internal business. Meanwhile, Saudis, they did 9/11. The majority of people who did 9/11 were Saudi Arabian citizens. To me, that's a great note. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I thank Canada for putting human rights and women's rights before arms deals, and America, UK, France, Britain, Australia, they don't know they're human yet. They haven't figured it out. They haven't figured out that that actually is the right thing to do. So Canada's actually taking on Saudi Arabia to that extent. And I think that's an example to follow. The last couple comments. I'm going to go. That was a very positive note. I don't know who is this. The Prime Minister of Canada? Good job. I don't even know who she is, but she's going to stand strong. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. The Saudis have a lot of influence, and I guarantee you that the other nations are going to come down on Canada hard because she's standing up for human beings and women's rights. Imagine that. Trade war would affect poor people the most. Well, Yvonne, I disagree on that. Trade war, well, no, I don't disagree. I do agree. I agree on that. Trade war will affect poor people the most because that's the narrative. What they tell you is they tell you a trade war means that poor people can't afford things. And the reality is that is true to a degree. However, if those things are made on slave labor and we need local businesses to be more sustainable, then I like a trade war. I think the reason Puerto Rico is in trouble is because Puerto Rico was never sustainable. When collapses happen, and calamities and collapses always happen on this planet, if you don't have local economies, you have weak economies. And so will a trade war affect poor people? A little bit, but not what much. I mean, if what's being traded is food and it lowers the food prices, then it's good for those people. But also what gets traded from poor countries is food, right? And so the example that we had was Mexico, and Mexico selling its tomatoes to America, and then poor Mexicans couldn't afford the tomatoes who who worked on the tomato farms, because they can sell the tomatoes to America for $3 and $4 each, and they couldn't afford that in the Mexican economy. So they were growing food for America while the people there didn't have food. So trade wars don't hurt the poor. Trade wars are sustainable. Trade wars, they support the green industry. They support local industry. They support local business. So I'm all for trade wars. We need local, strong communities. And the only way we'll get that is getting billionaires out of our pockets. When the poor stop buying cheap slave-made goods from billionaires, and the poor are actually buying local-made goods at a good price from local farmers and growers, then we have a sustainable world. So I'm all for trade wars. I don't believe that trade wars affect the poor negatively to any significant degree. I don't believe that at all, because the world has always worked on local economies, and we need to go back to local economies. What we have today doesn't work. The government doesn't speak to more empty homes than homeless, right? Because the government doesn't care, Lori. And it's not even just the empty homes; it's also empty businesses, like all across America. Anyway, there are empty businesses and homes everywhere. There are more empty ones than actual people who are homeless. And so we could house every homeless if we wanted to, but we keep walking into this world where greed is everything. Greed is the priority, right? And so we keep things from people that we have in abundance. There's no scarcity of houses in America. There's no scarcity of beds or places for people to sleep. Nowhere in this world. It's artificial scarcity. We keep people out, keep home prices up, and homelessness is good for business. And so that's what the real estate market does, keeps people homeless. And so the government doesn't speak on it because government gets money from the real estate industry, and local government gets money from home sales and people moving in and taxes going up. So let me see. We should be having fair trade, not free trade. Absolutely. I agree with fair trade versus free trade. I don't think that I like free trade, Brother Terry. I think we are saying the same thing, or Sister Terry. I think we're saying the same thing. Is I don't like the idea of borders. I'm not a border person, but I think that you got to have strong local economies. And so outside the borders and free trade, because to me, when you say those things, it's still kind of like in this colonizer border model. Like I think that people who have strong villages and they trade amongst themselves and everybody has what they need. There are no bellies that are popped because they can't afford tomatoes. When everybody has what they need, then they can trade things to other communities, but you got to make sure that your local neighborhood's taken care of first. And so I think that'll walk us into organic trade. Like that's the word I like, organic trade. I think I like organic trade because it's more sustainable. And then when disaster strikes, because it always strikes, if we don't have strong, local, sustainable, non-massive billionaire-based trade, then the calamities don't hurt as much. Fear and trauma-based news. Yes, they like fear and trauma-based news. Yep, Sandra, because you already know. It gets people tribal. It gets them on this side, that side. They fight each other, and the billionaires take everything home. Truth is flowing. Yes, Brother Gown, truth is flowing, which is a great thing. That's why social media, they're going to shut this thing down before too long. Scarcity of love, respect, and resources. Ooh, yes. Yes, Sister Lord. We got scarcity of love. We definitely have scarcity of respect. I'm not sure there's scarcity of resources so much as just the allocation of the resources. It's the billionaires that are holding everything. Let me see. Tidal wave of truth coming at you. Yeah, a lot of tidal waves of truth. There's a lot of good truth starting to come out there, Brother Gown. I've retreated to my kingdom. I don't come out much. Yeah, we're the same. We're pretty much the same. I kind of hide under my rock and I come out every now and then. Money broke it, but can advance it as well. You keep talking about scarcity. Do you know about MMT? Yeah, I do, Sarah. And my position on the MMT is pretty much the same. Like I like the long picture And I think you already get it based on what you're saying. Money broke the system. Money was one of the key aspects that broke the human race. So I'm not for any monetary system. I think money can exist over and above once everybody has what they need to live and exist and thrive. I think being born, you have a right to the land. You have a right to live. You have a right to oxygen. You have a right to grow your own food. I don't think a government can take that from you. And I don't think they can, from a human rights perspective, require you into their labor-based society so the billionaires can make money. So I think the long story is money is going to go away anyway because robots do the labor. They don't ask for money. We probably should make it go away sooner. I'm not against MMT or any of these stopgap solutions, but I think that we always need to stay focused on the final picture. The final picture is there can't be any money between a human being and life. Human being here, life and survival here, there can't be anything in between that. And as long as we can agree to that, I'm good with what anybody else wants to do. If people die because they don't have the things they need, then I have a problem. That's kind of where I stand. I find myself struggling every day to not hate the people causing the greatest pains in this world. It takes a lot out of me to pray for those people. It's a good thing I'm not God. Well, Terry, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But I also, what I try to do is I try to look at what put people where they are. And I also keep in mind that the same brain that's in them is in me. And usually environment makes people. So even when people hate me, I'm okay with that. Like something happened to them in life that made that be a good idea. And so I'm more for let's work with people, let's talk with people, let's solve the problems that got them to where they are to make them hate us or me or whatever. And that's like a sustainable long-term solution. That's kind of where I stand on that. But it's rough. It's rough. But that's why I think you got to laugh a lot. I think you got to laugh at the ridiculousness of all of this, the immaturity of all of this. Otherwise, you might go crazy. The greatest irony that the UN made South African or SA chair their Council of Human Rights. I guess the UN is captured. Well, the UN, yeah, the UN sold out a long time ago. The UN is there. I think they're just one of the legs of the military industrial complex. Not that they don't do everything bad. They do some good, but every group does some good, and that's why they get to exist. But I think they do more harm than good. And Yemen's the most perfect example of that right now. Let me see what else we got. Get down to the last couple of comments. I'm over my time, but I started late. Canada is genociding its First Nations. Oh, that's right, Lori. I forgot about that. Yes, good point. Good point. Yes. Yeah, but okay, so same point. Canada, right? Canada's doing a great thing when it comes to Saudi, but they're involved in like allowing for the indigenous to be like raped and killed, and they're not investigating, or the police are showing up late. Crazy, dumb stuff like that. But to me, again, it's the whole model. These governments don't work. They don't work. That's my stance. Like I keep hearing people, we got to fix this and we got to change that and modify, put a little duct tape here, grease there, flip this, do this. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe it just doesn't work. I don't know. Maybe you can't have one body govern 100 million people. Maybe that just doesn't work. Maybe human beings are creatures that want to be free. Maybe they don't want to be governed. Maybe they want to be free. Maybe we need small, local, tribal type government setups or tribal councils or something. Maybe we haven't evolved enough to be in these big government models, because war still exists. Scarcity still exists. Poverty, not poverty from a bank perspective, but poverty that I can't get no food. That still exists. That tells me, that's the empirical evidence, government doesn't work. If things actually aren't getting better, you're just rolling more people onto a debt-based system to pretend they have wealth, to pretend they have security through global trade. That doesn't tell me that things are getting better. And so I think government's a failed experience. I think it's a post-colonized failed experience in Canada and everywhere else. But I appreciate what Canada's doing, Lori. That's my point. I appreciate what they're doing. They're calling Saudi out, and I wish that other governments that become sentient would do the same thing and stand up for human rights and certainly women's rights, especially the ones who pretend they do. America, France, and Britain. Let me see. Yes, but the poor have scarcity nonetheless. Yes, they've got tons and tons of scarcity, artificial scarcity. Important to say that. The truth is hard to swallow, but what's even harder is having to continue to watch it, knowing most people can't wake up. So the cycle perpetuates itself. It does, Crystal, but I think it's changing. I think it's changing. I think more people are getting. I think more people are slowly starting to wake up, and because people are talking, right? As long as people are talking, we're in the game. When you shut them up like Alex Jones, then that's when the problems come. But as long as people are talking, we're still in the game. As long as people are disagreeing like adults, you know, you can have a discussion and, okay, I hear your point. I got your point. Okay, I don't agree, but I'll go away. I'll chew on it. I think about it. And you'll be surprised what other things people hear and they end up changing their positions. So as long as people are talking, we're in a good place. Let me see. I'm funny. Keep saying one last comment. I'm enjoying your video. I'm sorry. All right, I know, Sarah. I am down to my last couple comments. Let me see if I get a last comment, then I'm gonna go because I am late. They're young teens killing themselves in droves in Canada First Nation. Oh my gosh, Lori. Send me a link and I'll post it, Lori. I don't know everything that's going on. I think you sent me one before where it kind of showed some of that. We do need to know what's going on. It's the voices that we always need to be speaking up for. So I appreciate, Lori, you and always doing that. That's one thing I always go back to. We always got to speak up for people that are oppressed, people that are voiceless, people that live in conditions of scarcity and worse off than we are. You know, as I said, I don't talk about anyone else's privilege than my own. I'm privileged in the West. I'm supreme in the West, and I live a very ignorantly unsustainable life based on forced labor around the world and poverty in my own country. And I don't think that's okay. I think we got to give some of it back. And that's the position I'm in. I think we got to give it back. Last real comment. First responder knows who is responsible for 911. Made my point. Exactly, Rebecca. So we know who did 911. We know who did 9/11. And it's the same people who killed JFK. It's the same people who killed Martin Luther King. It's the same people that silly people today who are supposed to be against these things are actually supporting. I think it's a bad idea. I think that we have to roll back to a wiser time of living. I don't think that the wild man is wild as they wanted you to think he was. And in fact, I think I'm gonna end on the wild man. Because I don't think the world was wild. I think that they convinced us the world was wild. I think that these people were sustainable. I think they had their own world. They had their wrongs like we all do. But there was a lot less war. There was a lot less probably starvation and things in those days. We colonized the whole world. We broke people's ability to take care of themselves. And so they rolled us into a debt-based system that requires these big banks that are murdering people all over the world. I think it all has to go away. Let the system collapse, and I'm going to go ahead and let the wild man finish up. 1932, the wild man. Stop bringing people into your Western society. You're ignorant.
The Nonanonawadi, although only characters of allegory, still strike respect into the hearts of these wild men of the outback. The decoration, you see, is eagle's down, mixed with blood, human blood. A nasty piece of work in whom nature has blended bestiality with simplicity. Now you will hear the actual weird, almost uncanny sound of the corroboree, recorded by the expedition on an old Edison phonograph, because heavy modern sound recording trucks could not penetrate the wilderness.